Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Superwoman Wellness, where I'm determined to bring you back to your superpowered self. And a fundamental part of that equation is your hormones. How many of you are thinking about your hormones, checking your hormones, really diving in and understanding what your hormone rhythm is? When I listen to your stories in the exam rooms at Center Spring, or even if you come to me on social media or even through the podcast, oftentimes I can identify where many of your symptoms, many of your conditions are connected to hormone imbalances. But as you've told me many times, and I know I experience this myself, when you go in to get those hormones checked, bam, that door is often shut in your face. Well, we know medical gaslighting is an issue. We know that we need to change the narrative around women's health. But what I want to do today in this particular episode of the podcast is to really help you understand how hormones are impacting you and how important it is for you to identify your hormone story. Let's start by talking about symptoms that you might not think are related to your hormones, but they actually are. So for example, your energy. I feel like energy is such a great sign, and I wish I had dialed into it and paid a lot more attention to it when I was having my issues in my 20s. I'm 51 now, and I'm very conscious that when my energy is shifting, it is often a symptom of a hormone change or a hormone imbalance. And I'm able to go check it or tweak what I'm doing and then get back into some sort of equilibrium. There are about 4 different types of energy. There's cognitive energy, which is how we think and process information. There's emotional energy, which is how we feel on any given day. There's physical energy, which makes us do this hard-hitting workout or go run or bike or whatever it is that we like to do. And then there's sort of, I would say, life energy, where we're excited about participating in our lives or we are excited about doing things. If energy shifts in any of those areas, you might be having a hormone shift. Hormones are connected to all of that. So that's a big bucket of symptoms or a particular symptom that is connected to many different hormones. I would say the second most common kind of sign is weight changes, right? You're doing the same things, you're kind of humming along, same diet, same routine, nothing dramatically different, and boom, there's 10 or 20 pounds that you didn't expect. That's a sign of a hormone shift, not a sign that you've been good or you've been bad. That's a dialogue I frequently hear. This is not you doing something that's now impacted you. Your hormones have changed. And there's so many different ways the hormones impact weight and belly fat, a decrease in muscle mass, and more. So we've talked about energy, we've talked about weight. Let's talk about sleep. If your sleep cycle is changing and you don't have an explanation, right? No recent major stressor, you didn't drink a lot of caffeine or alcohol before bedtime, you're not loading up on sugar, but now you're having trouble falling asleep, or you're waking up between that 2 and 3 a.m. Sort of witching hour is what I call it, then you're having a hormone shift. I think the other signs and symptoms, things like hot flashes and night sweats and those type of things, those are much more obvious, right? So those are very much connected to hormone shifts. So again, important to get your hormones checked, understand what your hormone levels are. So fatigue, weight, sleep, mood, I've sort of alluded to this. If you're having more anxiety, more depression, the brain is filled with serotonin and dopamine receptors that are dependent on estrogen. And we never talk about this. So if you're seeing huge changes and swings in moods, and I've experienced this with patients, I distinctly remember a woman who, as she entered perimenopause and her estrogen and progesterone levels were swinging, went into full-blown depression with her family not sure how to handle her. But the minute we put her on some hormone replacement, she was better. So your mood, highly dependent on hormones as well. I mean, I could keep going. Let's do another one. I think hair and skin, maybe that's too obvious, right? So changes in hair, losing hair, acne, changes in skin texture, wrinkling, these are all signs of hormone shifts. Let's do one that's maybe a little bit more surprising. How about joint pain? So many women start to experience joint pain. And that actually is connected to hormone shifts. Here's why. When the hormones change, there is a spike in inflammation in the body. And it's often a time where many autoimmune diseases express themselves or find themselves. So these symptoms, again, people will dismiss as that's rheumatology, right? That's neurology. That's not related to your hormones. False. Those are also hormone-based symptoms, and hormones are a major part of that equation when it comes to shifting and changing things around. I want to do one more. I thought I'd limit it to 5, but let me do one more. Your gut health. Wow, does gut health really play a role in hormones? And do hormones really influence gut health? Here's how it works. Our gut is responsible for breaking down and metabolizing hormones. When it can't do that, then you start having a lot of different hormone patterns that work against you. But your gut is really a major part of the hormone manufacturing machinery, as is your liver. So we need the gut to work. But when the hormone shifts, this is like a chicken egg situation. So when the hormones shift and we start to have big fluctuations in estrogen and progesterone, or a changing thyroid level, or really high cortisol levels, the gut changes too. Our microbiome changes, our ability to empty, something called gastric emptying shifts and changes. That means for us, more bloating, constipation or diarrhea, abdominal pain, reflux. These are many of the symptoms people experience when they have shifts in their hormones. And for some, it's actually not just a shift in their hormones and a shift in their gut health, but an expression of inflammation. So I've seen a lot of IBDs, inflammatory bowel diseases like Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, show up in periods of hormone shifts after a woman's had a baby, after she quits breastfeeding, as she goes into perimenopause. So all of these signs and symptoms and diseases very much a testament to the power of our hormones. So what do you do with this information? Okay, you're like, okay, Dr. Taz, I got it. Like, I've got symptoms, they're connected to hormones. What else do I need to know? Well, here's what we really want. Here's what I in particular really want. Beyond, of course, changing the dialogue around women's health and the narrative here, what I really want is for each of us to be able to identify your dominant hormone pattern. There's 7 major hormones that all of us should be tracking and checking at least twice a year at a minimum. And if you're starting hormones and hormone therapy, then you might want to be checking that a little bit more frequently. And those include estrogen and its sister hormones, estradiol, estriol, and estrone, progesterone and its derivatives, 17-hydroxyprogesterone and pregnenolone, testosterone, which is the family of androgens, right? And free testosterone, DHT, and even an AMH. Insulin levels, multiple ways to measure that. A fasting insulin, a hemoglobin A1C, which is a 3-month average, a fructosamine level, even a leptin level, all can give you information about what your insulin levels are doing. Cortisol, which again is the blood, kind of the stress hormone, but directly impacts blood sugar and insulin. And then thyroid hormones, TSH, T4, T3. I think we're missing, who are we missing? We're missing one, FSH and LH, understanding the hypothalamic pituitary relationship to hormones. So those are kind of the 7 major hormones that you need to be tracking and need to be on top of throughout your hormone journey. And for those of you listening who may be over 65 and are thinking like, I'm way past that, I don't need to deal with that, partially true. You still need to be looking at stored levels of estrogen, and you still need to be also looking at testosterone, insulin, and some of the androgen levels as well. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about hormones and your hormone journey and what you should and should not be checking. Now, once you're checking that information, here's what I really, really want. I want everyone to be able to identify their hormone pattern. So for example, do you have estrogen dominance, meaning you're storing estrogen? Are you insulin resistant? Are you having adrenal fatigue? These are some of the concepts and the ideas that we really want to latch into and figure out which of them is your major pattern, right? That's really what we want to go after. What's your major pattern of hormones? And then that creates a very clear, concise roadmap for you to correcting and fixing your hormonal imbalance. All right, so that's a lot of information in a nutshell there, but I break all of this down in my new book, The Hormone Shift, available this October, to really help us all understand what's happening with our hormones, how to identify it, how to check them, how to rebalance them. And rebalancing hormones is not just about taking hormones, right? Not just about going on a hormone. It's also about getting your gut, nutrition, your lifestyle, your sleep, all in alignment so that the hormones can work in the rhythm that they were meant to, and we continue to stay in our power and embrace this hormone journey as a fundamental part of our identity. All right, lots of info there. I hope I didn't confuse anyone. A lot of words as well. But remember, we're going to be talking all things hormones. The Hormone Shift is out. Lots of hormone information on my website. If you go to drtaz.com, join the Superwoman Circle if you need help navigating through the information in the book. And then we're doing a 12-week program, the 4-Hour Hormone System. That sign up is on my website as well, to help all of you systematically work through 12 weeks to balance your hormones, but to also bring all those different bodies and elements of yourself into alignment. All right, thank you for watching and listening to this episode of Superwoman Wellness. I'll see you guys next time.